and it's not only crude, wheat, corn, what's happening with other commodity prices like nickel, coal, coking coal. Let's get this discussion forward. We have a very special guest, Mr. Praveer Sinha, CEO and MD at Tata Power, is with us. So power as a sector consumes a lot of coal, consumes a lot of raw materials which have recently spiked. First, can you tell us about the availability? How worried is the industry about coal coming or prices of coal going up? Can you just talk to us about how dynamics have changed in the last few days, and then we can take it ahead?
Good morning, and thank you for having me on your show. When we look at coal, we need to look at it from two perspectives. The first is domestic coal. The domestic coal availability is very good in the country. However, during certain periods, there have been certain shortages, as we saw last year in the month of October. And coming summer also, we need to get ready to meet the additional power requirements, considering the higher temperatures which is expected during the summer months. So the domestic coal will, of course, the impact of international coal will not have anything on domestic coal as such, excepting that the cost of diesel will go up and the recovery cost of coal or the mining cost of coal will go up to that extent. So to a certain extent, it will have an impact, but not a very large impact. As far as the international coal is concerned, India does not import too much of Russian coal, so to that extent it is insulated. However, what happens is that there are other countries in Southeast Asia, including Japan and Korea and Taiwan, and also China, which imports a huge quantity of Russian coal. Nearly 80 million tons of coal comes in these countries. That will definitely get impacted, and that means that the coal which otherwise was coming in Southeast Asia from Indonesia and Australia, those prices can go up. We have already seen in last 15 days the prices going up of international coal, especially the Indonesian benchmark prices have gone up by nearly $10 and expected to go up further if the war continues. So we will have a challenge for all the plants which are on imported coal-based, nearly 20 gigawatt of generation which is on imported coal. They will get impacted in the sense that the tariff will go up. But overall, in the country, the nearly 600 million tons of coal that comes from domestic coal companies, that should be okay.
So Sinha, imported coal prices as well have skyrocketed, and apart from the supply disruption in Russia and Ukraine, do you think there is going to be an increase in demand with some of the EU thermal power now being restored to reduce the dependency on Russian gas? Do you think that this would imply that prices will remain elevated through the year?
It looks like it. It looks very likely that the prices, which has been already very high for the last 1 year, will continue in this range. We were expecting that the international coal prices will come down to a level of about $100 in the later part of this calendar year. But it looks like that it will definitely not come in that range. It will be upwards of $150.
You spoke about the inventory situation, especially on the domestic side, but can you just tell us that, when we talk about globally, when there is such a big supply-demand change or, such a big supply-demand shock, as one can say, it takes time to recover, even if things globally sort out, it may take some time before, things start to move again in a normal way?
Absolutely. So the international coal prices, international oil prices, definitely for next 6 months will be very much stressed. And we can expect the higher range of prices during this period. Only once the war gets over and things stabilize, we can expect the prices to come down. But definitely for next 6 months, it's a very fluid situation.
You also had merchant tariffs which shot up by about 20 rupees per unit in the month of February, with the average now at about 5 to 6 rupees. What should we brace ourselves for in the medium term when it comes to the merchant tariff rates?
So merchant tariff rates will be a little bit distressed. It will be on the higher end. considering that the summer has started very early. Normally, we don't see 190 gigawatt of consumption in the month of February. Pre-COVID, we saw this range only in the month of June, July, which is the peak summer. We definitely expect this year the peak summer the requirement to go up to about 220 gigawatt, and that means that all the power plants which are there in the country, whether they are on domestic coal or they are on imported coal, have to produce full capacity, as also the renewable and the hydro plants. So the prices will remain a bit on the higher side, and I think the energy conservation messaging has to be much stronger. Similarly, the lineup of coal inventory has to be done in such a way that we do not have a situation of zero coal stocks in the plants.
Good morning, Mr. Sinha. This is Nantara. So if I could just zoom out and once again ask a question that Pankaj did in the opening, which is that with the geopolitical tension, the way we are seeing commodity prices go up, the disruptions that we are seeing in the Black Sea, the shortages of coal, short term as it might be, have we started to see companies like yourselves race for any coal shortage, stock up on inventories? Is there more inventory? And of course, spot prices would be much higher.
The companies like us have a long-term arrangement. So we, in any case, keep on getting every month our requirement of coal. And in our case, we have the tie-up with Indonesian coal companies. We, of course, get coal at whatever is the prices, which is defined by the local government over there. But we don't have to do a knee-jerk reaction of getting spot purchases and things like that. So to that extent, if you have planned your coal procurement on a long-term basis, these are take-or-pay obligations. You will continue to get your coal. You will not be stressed out in terms of non-availability. But of course, the prices will be as ruling in the market at that time, or the indexation of the coal prices as ruling at that time.
Okay, because last year, of course, it had all started to see because of China. Then we saw shortage in Europe. Even in India, we were, getting scary headlines that in India only has enough coal for the next 1 week, 5 days. We've all gone through it in 2021, haven't we? Now, Mrs. Sinha, renewables, you just spoke about it. But even if you were to look at it at a group level and the way the Tata Group is moving towards green energy, ESG, given that, the larger picture for renewable energy at Tata Power, whether it is deal making, fundraising, what exactly is the game plan?
So Tata Power is driving the renewable roadmap for not only Tata Power, but also for many of the group companies and also for many of the large industries. So we have come up with very smart solutions, which not only gives them renewable during certain hours of the day, but also hybrid solutions, packaging it in such a way that we can give them 24/7 solutions. And many of these solutions are now started getting implemented, and going forward, I think we have a viable and commercially attractive proposals, which will ensure that industries or commercial establishments can go for 24/7 renewable energy. Tata Power has a huge amount of experience in carrying out such activities. It has developed large number of tools for ensuring that 100% renewable energy can be supplied. And we are very confident that not only we will drive this within the various companies within the group, but also outside for other industries and other commercial establishments.
Mr. Sinha, I urge you to just stay on with us. We'll take a very short break and be right back with our discussion.
Right, the management at Tata Power, Mr. Praveer Sinha, CEO and MD, is still with us. Sir, thank you for waiting by. I just wanted to now understand about the domestic situation. When we just talk about the last 2 years, have you seen a significant change in asset ownership, investments from various companies towards EV, towards power, towards road? which was probably missing in the last 5, 7, 10 years?
Yeah, I definitely see that the trend is changing, and whether it is in power generation where renewable power is getting more focused, even for us in Tata Power, from a level of just 15% of our energy which we used to produce from the non-carbon sources 4 years back. Today we have moved to nearly 30%, and in next 5 years will be nearly 60% of that. So there is a trend that all future investments will happen in renewable energy. And when I talk of renewable energy, it's a combination. It's not just solar or standalone wind, but how hybrid solutions of solar, wind, hydro, and the storage can come in. And I think that's the way the trend will change going forward, with more of solar, wind, and hydro and storage will come, and less of thermal. In fact, there is no capacity addition that is happening in thermal, very far and few. And all the old plants, once they complete their useful life, they will get decommissioned. So I think the trend is very clear. Similarly, what we are seeing is that the electric mobility is picking up pace, whether it is by the fleet owners or individual owners, whether it is four-wheelers, two-wheelers, uh, public transport systems, buses, they're all moving towards that. But this is a transition. This is not something that can happen overnight. The transitioning is happening at a very fast pace. And I'm sure the next 2, 3 years, you will see huge amount of increase and penetration of renewable energy and electric transportation happening in the country.
Right. So, when we just talk about crude oil prices being high or commodity cost being on the higher side, whether it's coal, whether it's various others, and time and again you've seen disruption coming into these sectors. Do you believe that move towards EV, move towards solar, all of this will take, a further step in terms of investment over the next 6 months if prices were to stay where they are?
I think if you see in the last 10 years, people have been sensitized about the climate change. And I don't think we should look at it from a short-term perspective of the war and the immediate increase in oil prices, but how globally there is a commitment that we need to move towards non-carbon usage, whether it is for energy or it is for transportation. And this trend will only pick up pace, unfortunately, last 2 years because of COVID. Many of the actions got little stalled, but I think next 8, 9 years in this decade, we are going to see huge action in moving forward the agenda of clean and green energy, and this will become a way of life for everyone.
And Mr. Sinha, it certainly is a milestone moment with respect to 100 years of the hydro plant of the company. You've seen so many cycles as well. Take us through what exactly this means for Tata Power.
This means a lot of things to Tata Power. One is that the innovation that Tata Power did 100 years back of setting up a green generating plant, hydro plant in the foothills of Western Ghats is still very good, and it is still very topical. And today it plays a very, very important role in supplying electricity to Mumbai city. In fact, when I was mentioning to you that how we are packaging 24/7 renewable energy, while we will have during daytime solar power, during evening peak, we can use the hydropower to meet the requirement of the city. And then, of course, we can have package it along with wind in other hours of the day. So I think hydro combined with the other renewables, yeah. So hydro combined with other resources makes a great sense in terms of how we can meet the future requirement of power. This is a great plant. In fact, even on last Sunday when we had a blackout, this plant survived, and it was the first one to come on the grid and continue supplying within 15 minutes time. So I think hydro plants which have been constructed by Tata Power more than 100 years back. In fact, this is the second plant which has completed 100 years. The first one was Khapoli plant, which was completed way back in 1915. We celebrated 100 years 7 years back, and this has completed 100 years this year, and we'll have another plant which will complete 100 years in 2027. So these are the backbone of power supply for Mumbai city, and clean power is always something that we look forward to.
And we wish you all the very best and hope for many more interactions with you in the future. Many thanks for taking time out, Mr. Sinha, and joining us on ET Now. All right, time to shift gears then. The equity markets, it's down 1.5% across the board. You've got all sectors in the red, led by autos, real estate and consumption. But let's focus in on the retail investor participation. Have we seen many demat accounts open off late, which are the kind